Namaskar. Welcome to
Namaskar.
another live from HW News Network. Acha, theek hai. Now I want to tell you something. We've been talking about electoral bonds, and a lot of you responded. Thousands of you responded, saying that what good data, fantastic. We should keep the fight on and all of that. Today, I want to introduce you to a personality. I want to introduce you to a 77-year-old soldier who is the reason why all this data is out there. I'm honored to have him, and I want to introduce you to Commodore Lokesh Batra. Sir, what an honor to have you. What an honor to have you. And I
Thank you
want
so
to
much.
start.
It's a privilege for me to be present there and expressing my thoughts and experience with the audience and yourself. Thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I want to ask you a very straight question. Sir, what motivated you to spend your time, your money, your effort to get this information, get this data? You wrote to so many people, RTI. What motivated you, sir?
You see, I'm in this whole game right in the service days also. We involved in that rebuilding a village in Gujarat. After my Navy time and working in higher power corridor, suddenly I had authored a book called Outreach, released by President of India. After that, suddenly they changed my designation to Community Development Advisor to the Navy or other Chief of Naval Staff. So the project came Super Cyclone in Orissa. I went for the rehabilitation program. Then Kargil took place. I went there. When the earthquake came in 2001 in Gujarat, we rebuilt a village using our money with the help of a Yes, we feel that whenever you take a project, you should be able to sustain it. So this was closed, a road between the Jamnagar and Rajkot. A small village was there. The entire thing was rebuilt. So I'm just trying to make it the point that it's not after the retirement, it was going on, and I was given a free hand to do all those things. But after retirement, also till the Right to Information Act came in force, I used to write something, which anything which is I find something is not there, going correct. Sometime I'll take my camera, it says building at a wrong place is being built, write a small letter to editor. Whenever something has to be changed, then came Right to Information. Now I treat Right to Information nothing. It's a method of participating in the governance. It is the duty of every citizen to participate in the governance, and that you can do is only if you have information what is held with the government. And after you seek information, then you got to see if there's anything wrong. If there's nothing wrong, go back to the government, say these things can be changed. If not, then there are other means of doing it. If required, go to the court. That's exactly we are following the procedure. But first, all attempts are made to try from the government itself. Like I tell you, number of changes we brought it to the long term. Like there was a mistake in the Hindi version of the RTI. When I approached the government, this is what, and later on, till we read the law ministry, we found there were 32 mistakes. So it was the power of a RTI to correct RTI Act. This is a long story. Similarly, there was a from abroad, they had given us a right, if I'm an Indian citizen abroad, like NRI holding Indian passport, they had given this rights, but there was no way to pay 10 rupee fees from abroad. So that was another project in my hand. When I returned, then I filed a complaint with CIC. Respondent was Government of India under that various public authorities. It was a reform. You see, my RTI is for a long-term reforms. It took some time when the Department of Post decided to come out with an online portal, postal order. We call EIP or Electronic Indian Postal Order. Now you could download from anywhere. First phase was Indian citizen abroad could use for India. Second phase I raised up that we put missions also into that. Last stage was I said let's do it globally. Now anywhere globally you can download the payment postal order of 10 rupees from online. But the outcome of this was that suddenly the DOPT, which is a nodal agency in the country for effective implementation, these teams also used to come. It took us some projects from 2018. It came in 2013. They used to come. Suddenly they realized they had already asked for call centers and tenders and all. It was so simple. The moment a particular joint secretary was so IT savvy, he went called the NIC, DMD of SBI, using the payment gateway, and came out with the online portal exactly 1 month after the method of electrical India. So these
So,
are the long I keep bringing. So it's nothing new for me. And why I'm doing, you ask me the question. See, I always feel when I joined the Navy in 1967, I was commissioned. And the time I retired virtually after 36 years, which has a various experience of sea, power corridors, I was obviously a different man. Better experienced, better learning. I mean, that's from my point of view. But at whose cost it was? I want to know whose cost? Taxpayers' cost. Now, even after retirement, the salary, pension I get is a taxpayer. Don't we owe back to them? Beside that, if you have learned this expertise or some experience, I must pass on to the other. Other people must get this information. And pension, because the pension is paid by taxpayer, I must pay back to them. Through I owe them a lot every time. The other is I'll try to explain to there's an article simple, there is a slogan, Mera Paisa Mera Hissa. It was created by Nair. That means government has a zero money. They don't have any money. It's all taxpayers' money. And generally they tell us, see, the income tax have increased, the number on increase, but they're forgetting there's an indirect tax which supplies. So today, poorest of the poor, when goes and buy something, there's tax on that. That is the point.
correct,
Now
sir.
that
I wish a lot of
is the money
politicians
from
thought
abroad.
like you.
So this is my motivation. What you asked me the question, now I answered you.
No, no, I sincerely wish a lot of politicians thought like you. Hats off to your thoughts, sir. I am absolutely impressed. Sir, why electoral bonds?
Why?
Why
Electoral bond.
electoral bonds? Yes.
You see, now it's a long story that 2017 because we were not happy. Even now, I'm not happy with what was this system running prior to this. You see, there was something like you up to 20,000 if you donated cash, names were not to be given. But if 20,000 and more, then you had to give a name on the donors. So that was a lot of cash flowing. So that needed a lot of improvement. But when the speech was coming of former uh, finance minister, late Arun Jaitley ji, if you carefully read, I mean, we were watching because this transparency we are working on. We are very happy after first two, three paragraphs that we want to change the transparency, and that's what we are looking for. But by the time we reach fourth or fifth, he talked about electoral bond where he says donor's name and as well as the political party name is not given. So how can a opacity and transparency go together? That was first stage. That is time we started asking for information. And my journey, I can explain you when you ask me of
No,
how
no,
we
please,
reached.
please, sir. Really want to know that journey.
You see,
Yes.
it is in 2017 when this happened. So first of the thing was to start with, I find the most important institute in India is the Election Commission of India. That has to ensure free and fair election or even field for all the parties. So there was something came in our, our notice that there was a letter written on this scheme written by the Election Commission of India. And that letter is a very popular letter and the D-Day is 26th May 2017. Prior to that, also they had sent it to parliamentary committee recommended. They called it a retrograde step. It will create shell companies. I mean, all these things. But point is, it was not electoral bond. It was a amendment to Finance Act 2017. That was the topic, which amended all four or five acts to accommodate. It was an offshoot of amendment to accommodate electoral bond. Like let's say they took away powers of RBI. That's a huge story of RBI also, how they were humiliated by this system. Then, therefore, the day budget speech, 2 days before budget speech, someone mentioned to the government that we have not consulted RBI. So they shot out a letter to RBI saying this is what we are planning to do. And obviously, they worked hard overnight. Within a weekend, they replied. So it will create an adverse effect. We don't recommend. So when that letter came to file, now files speak once we start. I'm going back a little forward. The file started telling us all this. File came, it said that RBI does not understand. The second thing is, any case, speech is budget speech is ready, so we can't change it. So that period from there, for election commission, RBI opposing it, the whole process of 2017 was a dialogue how to go about it. Full year. At every stage, government proposal was opposed. But then government wanted to do it. RBI, after the first letter, there are two letters, which was really, I put it on my Twitter handle, rather X handle. All these documents I put it what we're talking about it. Like anybody can go and see. On 14th of September 2017, the then governor of RBI, Shri Urjit Patel, he wrote a letter to finance minister by name Arun Jaitley ji, कि we feel okay, if you really want it, then it's our charter. Because the way the bond is coming up is like a currency note. Currency handling is our job. And the second thing is we want all the things should be digital and demat format so that we can carry on the money trail. So when this thing, it was reply was coming through a secretary of that time instead of a finance minister replying, and that secretary is going and this there is quite out on the various channels. Now they said we can't do it. When they reiterated on 27th of September, they said, I mean, the letter reads like this: we have already amended the RBI Act. Now it is for us to decide what we want. We want independent authority. As far as the bank is concerned, we want our independent bank, which we want to sail through that bank, which was later on State Bank of India. And as far digital thing is concerned, if the money trail is there, then we'll be able to. I mean, anybody can find out the donor's name. The whole purpose of this scheme is to keep the donor's name secret, classified. So that entire scheme was being done to keep their name this thing. So sometimes I wonder whether these letters, the one being by a secretary instead of the finance minister writing to Ujjwal Patel, which led to his resignation finally. There must be some incident earlier. I feel so. But that is how we went about. The file brought in a lot of things. And finally, on 2nd January 2018, they issued a notification, which is called Electoral Bond Scheme 2018. Now, it had a plan which categorically said there will be four time 10 days sale. That is in January, April, July, and October. And 15 days are given for the encashment. Now, 15 days, how it's calculated for, I must tell your audience, if you purchase on the 1st of, let's say, January, then 14 days add including first, and it's a calendar days, not the working days, even if it's holiday, then 15th will be last day. Anyone who purchase on the 10th last day, for them the period is up to 24th, 10th plus 14 days. Anyone who is not, and these any bond which do not get in cash will be transferred to Prime Minister National Relief Fund. That is the scheme there. But the first year itself, they broke the law. Instead of conducting in January, they said we are doing in lieu. There's nothing like in lieu in March. The first sale took place in March. I mean, that in my view, was an illegal sale. If that was not enough, April was a normal sale. Then it came down to May. Now, that is most interesting to see how this system works, because this is the one you need to get. When I seek files, every file, comma, full stop tells me that you have to seek more files. So during this process, they wanted somebody there on the file. It is mentioned there that let's open on the month of May also when there's a Karnataka election. I must give my hats off to those bureaucrats who are there handling this. From lower functionary road, we have got notification, will be against the law. But also put up a draft that if you really wish to do it to higher ups, let's modify the notification. And they said no. But 3-4 days, file tells me suddenly, in fact, earlier case, even State Bank refused to do. He said there should be legal way of it. 4 days later, from high, it says, I will not be mentioning it who, but it says the highest level. It said that highest level desires it should be opened up. And they opened up in the month of May without changing any notification. At least I was saying the bureaucrats were very firm that we should modify, but it is too early when you open in January and you want to amend it. So it's not only that, even in month of November, which was not a normal, say, I think it was Bihar election there that time. There's a one who started, let's do that. So all these sales were illegal. What do you think of that when your own law, you're violating it? It's a complete violation of own law.
Correct.
So we go back to the file. So what I used to do is first started with Election Commission and we got that 26th May 2017 letter. But I kept taking now. I don't ask questions or I don't raise queries. In fact, I use the word request because another word is that I don't call that like some of them say RTI is weapon. I say no, वहाँ भी अपने लोग हैं, हम भी अपने लोग हैं. Weapon is used for adversary, not in our own people. They are like us sitting there. So that was my way of talking. But every file tells you there is something more to be asked. Because something is written there, so you keep asking. So I keep asking file. But first letter was written to Legislative Department of Ministry of Law on 26 May 7. Then I filed with carrying the documents as a part of my RTI, which I recovered from the Election Commission. I filed an RTI by the time it was 2018 in Law Ministry Legislative to find the letter was not acted upon 1 year later also. But these are things which, you say now time to dig more and more and more. After the pressure there, that letter was sent to Department of Economic Affairs. So I'll just go back for a second. It clearly comes from the files that the planning was done somewhere in Department of Revenue and for structuring was handed over to Department of Economic Affairs. What was interesting was one of the notes which came up, it didn't like government note, with no signature, nothing, but the concept of electoral bond was there. We wonder whether it was from outside the government. Somebody has sent it. We don't know. So we'll not say anything. So Department of Economic Affairs say it is not our role, but they were doing it. But still that circulated my RTI with the Election Commission documents and Law Ministry documents because I was sending to others also whatever I could gather. And they said, so one of their divisions says, yes, we agree with the Election Commission. And during this process, whenever we're digging out, there was standalone stories were all the time coming out, whether it was quaint, whether it was weak or... Then something happened. On 18 December 2018, MOS Finance Ministry, on replying to a parliamentary question in Rajya Sabha, a question was raised by MP from the Trinamool Congress. Now I know it's a Trinamool Congress. It stated that the MP had asked a question, what the government has mitigated the concern of the election. He said, we don't even know the concern. That is the time I mean, first time, you feel that I let go all my documents till now in public domain. Forget the law ministry, even my documents were there, which were attached with those documents with them, which led to that MP last day of the session file a privilege motion using some of my documents because it was in public domain. In between, I'll go the story because that's important to mention it. And later on, much later on, the change of MOA, then they sent an apologetic letter to Rajya Sabha and the corrected answer was just with oversight. But the corrected answer was entered there. But the matter was still going on. And I must confess, everybody says, why are you saying that? But the fact is, I had no problem in getting information. I'm very kind public, except revenue. Because this Department of Economic Affairs forwarded my document to department. 44 times it moved, and they will send it back to the Law Ministry. Say, Law Ministry, we have sent you. They were playing games, ping pong. Till today, I haven't got answer from them. So where the problem took place, I'm mentioning. Where I'm getting with smooth information, it was coming. Election Commission was much, much more transparent than today. Today, they're totally opaque, and that is the danger that we'll not get a free, fair election. The more concentration after electoral bond will be to concentrate on Election Commission. They'll come back to that. Now, this was the situation when I started seeking files. Now, we know it was the Department of Economic Affairs who was planning the whole thing. But one thing in Law Ministry's file also I found, the mention of that privilege motion by MP was there, but they were telling me कि sir वो session खत्म हो गया कुछ नहीं होगा. Then I went to Rajya Sabha because if you were to reach your laksh or say aim, you can't leave anything gaps in between. They told me it will never lapse. So next session it was there. So then I starting a lot of information from these in between those like no, I wrote a letter to open letter to Chief Election Commissioner because by time there was change in regime and I'm not sure they will continue with that same idea which was there on the first letter. So I open letter, I said in your to recap those letters, these was 4 line where you said retrograde step, quote unquote from that letter, and I say I have filed RTI and these are the documents attached to back to election commission. See, the objective is that they don't change. I was reminding them this is exactly what you said, these are the documents, and I mentioned revenue has not given me. So just to keep them on the new regime also that it was like that. So these are the things you have to do in between. Anyway, when the information I was flowing, SBI, whatever I asked, SBI used to give me for the sale data and redemption data. And one day I decided in 2019, just made a request to the Department of Economic Affairs that all the files related to electoral, I won't know. I can't give you the number. I like to, take those copies. So they gave me a date, that was in July or August 2019. I went there and they were so positive. Not only the files, we made a list because I said we need a list because I don't know tomorrow you're giving me everything. But there is another official who was there, senior official who was piloting the scheme. That's what one must appreciate. He came to the CPIO who was handing over files. I was inspecting. He said, why haven't you put the printing file into that? So please add that and give it to me. This was the way things were going, and I think I was fortunate, lucky, or I had the right people at that time. So we gathered all the papers. They sent me by email in 5 or 6 emails, but that required a lot of time. It was running to thousands of pages. One has to dig it out. That time we came in the picture was I used to share whatever it came with litigant. Now litigants were ADR, common cause, CPIM, plus some later on the intervention application. There were three. Whenever document came, first I shared with them because any document lying with me is as good lying with the government. They are the one who is going to use for their case, and then go to the media. Media will publish. So coming back to Nitin Sethi, probably he was business standard. He quitted and started reading this paper for 3 months. And 19 November 2019, if you remember, there was a first story came. What it was series. In fact, when he was doing, I was in United States. We used to work on the drafts, clearly. And my credit goes to hats off to Nitin Sethi for his experience. So it was an RBI story. First day of Parliament, I think budget session was there in November or something like that. And there was uproar when the first story came out that RBI governor said, and we put all the documents as an inset in this story. So if you recall the date of 19 November 2019, Parliament walked out, opposition walked out. There was so much uproar and how they're trying to defend it. But they didn't know what is coming next day. And the system was prepared that will go in more than one language. Because there were 3 or 4, Hindi version was being done by the News Laundry. Then similar, and finally I think it went in 5, 6 and simultaneously released in different. Even in Kerala it was there, released there. Later one more, I think media joined us from Northeast. So this was initially 6-part series in the Hub Post. But then every time we read more, there was much more coming up. Some were distributed to Indian Express because they called me up, I want documents. I say it's within Nitin Sethi. So they did front page one story. Deccan Herald did from Bangalore some stories. But the issue came in that some of the things which was more this thing is that beside that May sale, which was illegal, some of the bonds which had expired, and now I explained to audience that how it gets expired, not encashed in time. Someone, 2 parties with a 10 crore each, means 1 crore bonds of 10 each, approached Delhi main branch of State Bank of India for encashment. They work like a lightning speed. Just think, office opens around 10:30 bank. They wrote to chairman State Bank office. Chairman followed it up, chairman's office followed it up with the ministry. After all, some processing is done, even if it's on a paperwork. And those are now, you can see in my papers have been put up on my Twitter handle or X handle. They said, all right, there was a proposal from this. I mean, it all must have happened in minutes, but paper shows 4 or 5 pages filled. On the paper, it's written either we amend the notification because it is because the parties who approached, they thought it's for working. They gave excuse, we thought it's for working days. But it is actually calendar days. Or it's a one-time exemption given. So they say, okay, one-time exemption to those. One party had a one told at 10 bought on 3rd of May, the other one 5. But it should be in total period. So one party did not get the one who bought it on 3rd May 2018. The money went into times the national effort. Second was allowed to be in cash. In fact, it was on 23rd of May. They kept it because there was a holiday, so that became a last day. 24th, this dialogue took place, and the money was encashed to them on 24th, one party. But the question was, why is this special exemption? And why such a lightning swing? Would they do for anybody else? So we didn't know what party the money is going to. But now that Reporters Collective have already put up, tied up, all in the list have come in the tied up, it went to the ruling party, that 10 crore. The other thing we knew that scheme was such in State Bank of India, though on paper it says you cannot know that information will not be disclosed to anyone, but law enforcing agencies can ask for information anytime. We don't know if they ever ask. Now, cutting short because time is short, I'm coming back to the main point. Now you heard it, what happened in the judgment came around 15th Feb, beg your pardon, 15th Feb, but judgment was reserved on the 2nd November 2023. There again, the order was earlier, sorry, I'm going back. 12th April 2019, Chief Justice Gagoi had said, it's a very serious matter, it requires a lot of time. He had instructed the Election Commission to seek data from the political parties with name of donors, etc., in a keep in seal cover. So during that process, they were so transparent. I asked for it, their counter affidavit, they had attached in 220. There was a list of under 5, which was shocking. That many parties do not even qualify for this thing because the qualification is that you have to open a special account with the SBI only for purpose and encashment. Plus, you should have a minimum of 1% vote in the previous election. Anyway, we did that expose. COVID came. Later on, physical expose. That was wrong. Now, same order when this happened in 2nd November 2023, Supreme Court said we never asked you to stop collecting the. Now you have to continue collecting that seal covered information till the 30th September of 2023. That is a period between reserved and all. You would have seen many of the story, which I feel they should have gone directly to Supreme State Bank of India. Because seal cover, even election commission, nothing. They are not going to open it. They are going to submit back to registrar judicial in state bank. A lot of information come if it was open. But how will the election commission do? I don't know exactly what happened, but later on, this came that it was given to SBI to give this data. But when the judgment came on 15th February, they gave certain period to State Bank of India provide information beyond 12th April. Now, why they are talking of 12th April? Even today, somebody was asking that that direction or notice was given to the even donors that you will have to give the date on 12th April when Justice Gagoi had reserved the kept the judgment apart when they are asked them. So now they are only going beyond the 12th April, but data we get. So we have three type of data. So when State Bank came forward on 2 days before the time expired, they asked for they put an application. We cannot give you this data till 30th of June. That means the other government would have come and decided. This was shocking to all of us because my personal experience has been that division, which is SBI division, is very, very transparent. Like today, 24th, let's say, system has a process of a particular tranche or phase finished, 25th of that month, the entire data is sent to the ministry. And I would get my reply, or any applicant will get, in fact, within 3 4 days. So the system was so robust that to say that you need time till 30th June to match this thing. That is the time when the hearing came up on this 11th of. I personally was inside the court. So that two, three things. One is the seal cover, the other is the State Bank of India. They said that time I think senior advocate Harish Chalve was there, who was possibly not briefed at all because he was fumbling. I was there. They said, when did you? They said, we have to match. We have in two silos separate data, that in a physics, that stamps, and we have to match with. He said, when did we in order tell you to match? You give whatever data you have, but give complete data. So they gave certain information based on that, which still were not complete. They didn't give the number. I'll talk about, is a very interesting part of the number also. So finally they gave numbers. Everything is on the two separate files. One is a donors file, one is known as a political parties file with the numbers. And I think what they were saying, they need 4 months more. And our people sitting there and doing in minutes, telling, and every day you are reading what's happening. But the number was another story. Initially they said there's no number. So one of our spirited and experienced journalists, give the name also, Poonam Agarwal from Quint, she did that. She suspected something, so she went and bought two 1,000 ka electoral bond. Forensic was done. Somehow they felt there was something. Obviously, under UV light, they could see. And they matched with three. One, two, three, they had a different number. The moment it happened, on my file, it said the stories were there, but it is an Indian Express journalist who raised this question with the government. Is it true? And they, immediately after, they issue a PIB release, why it is required, and very genuine statement should have been mentioned in the beginning. There has to be an accounting system, money accounting. And the other thing is, with that number, when it is sold from wherever it's sold, it need not be in the same branch, it's in cash. So when it is in cash by the political party, they match the number, which is already available in system, that it is not a forged or anything. Now coming back to what is electoral bond, KYC is done by one. There is no name for donor, no political party. I say how the corruption takes place. Let's say X buy with a KYC. Another person's Y meets on the way, I want to buy this piece of paper from you. And say, I give you, if 1 crore, I'll give you 1 crore plus. What he has done is made his black money into white. The person who did KYC made some money. So many times it can change hands. Before it is dropped in the letterbox of the political party, and is very much illegal to say, I don't know who the donor. I mean, just saying, but it will not happen because the back door they will know. And the person who gives a donor gives money, they will take it. But if that is not the story, the fact is that now the truth is coming out, and very fast they are linking it. But again, I told you, why was that they wanted till 30th June? I am retrospect, I thought of it because they got this appeal letter signed by I won't say junior officer, but lower functionary, AGM level appeal, which letter was sent for asking for more time. It annoyed the constitution bench. He said, don't even, this kind of thing should come from a highest level. And I know there was nothing wrong. It was like I am saying that people say, how can it be? I say, if you are in the government, you will see that anybody boss says, no, you do it. And I use the word sometime, firing from somebody's shoulder. Poor in person was a transparent. And this has given a bad name to State Bank. People, if I don't explain, people don't understand. So it was sometime in retrospect, I realized at the end of the period of last year, 22, was it 22, 23, that first time there was extension given to the CMD, State Bank of India, and my period was about 8 months, 9 months. Normally it's 1 year, 2 years, and the first time in history. So now you presume and infer that means he was put up there to manage this electoral bond scheme till the election period is over. And that letter also said 30th June, when the new government would be in the place. So strictly speaking, now media is doing a very fantastic job. I'm not doing it because lists are there. So we have four type of lists. First two lists which was given without the number. Second is with the number. After the third time, Supreme Court wrapped them very very bad. Such SBI. Then they came out. Then the list of that in this seal cover, what was the list? It was with the Supreme Court when I was in the, they got the big crate of the seal covers in public. Means those all parties were present. They opened that this thing and they said we are going to scan these letters. Lest something happen, they scan the letter, handed over the entire data to Election Commission for putting up. So now you got four files. First is without data, so we forget that one is donors. When with the serial numbers, it was given second data, donors separate and like this political parties. In addition, you have a data which political parties give. So people who want to match, like one of the incident happened in immediately after the first day, sir. A lot of newspapers were coming to me like, I have the entire data which is in public domain, full 10 years in one single letter. So he said, sir, ये मैच नहीं कर रहा, वो लखनऊ ब्रांच को कवर कर रहा था. आपके डेटा के साथ ये नहीं मैच कर रहा. So I said, show me. The two parties like Samajwadi Party and BJP Party had bought the electoral bonds from the Lucknow branch because each state has one branch where you can encash. So I said, show me the form. He sent me the letter before filing the story. It came next day. It just said the table said we bought, but table heading is there, but they presume that is also encashed there. So I said that must be there, but you write to them. But anyway, next day say there is data not matching. Times of India came out with it. And Calcutta one was still doing. So this is what is people understanding has to be there. And they have been saying that 29 branches of State Bank are authorized for this purpose for selling and this thing. Main branches in this thing, they are not for selling by headquarter type. When I carried out analysis after it, there are so far only 19 State Bank branches. 19 branches, the one who actually sold out of the 29. And only 14 such branches where the money has been encashed. See, the total data tell you. And till on January, last sale was in that was 30th phase, January 2024. There were only 25 parties which were registered. So I am still filing RTI even after the judgment to get something. So it was only day for yesterday. And those are already gone. I think I had done immediate story when I got it 7 o'clock also. By night, my story was up. I wanted to know when we talk of 12th April, at what stage, how many parties were eligible? You say they were slowly registering it now. That means we'll know how many seal cover will be there. That 105 was a big story. So we found out in 2018, 31st March, there were only three parties who had. So that means money is distributed between the three. Although there was one sale March 2018, so that's financial year. The
Which
money
was the
which
three part? Which were the three parties, sir?
it didn't say, but it's a number was three. So we know that first salesman that 95% when we used to say it's gone to one party, it is divided between the three parties. Then my next question in that RTA was how many parties were entitled on 31st of March 2019. I think they gave me 12 or 12, 13, 14. Then I specifically asked for 12th April. That is now become a key date, 2019. By time I think it had become 18, my offhand, what I remember. Then slowly it went to 22, 22, then 23, 24, 25. That means even the total parties with 14 branches in cash should not be difficult. That was such a laughable thing when they say want time till 30th June, which the moment it was put on the board, I think within some minutes we have started getting a story. People are matching up these things. So this is the whole story about it. And it obviously there's a head of the state bank. That's why Supreme Court was very wise. They asked them to give it affidavit. First time we have one affidavit, the second time when they say they have not given full data, they were told now we'll take action. Fresh affidavit came from State Bank of India chairman that we have provided everything. That is the
Sir,
time.
sorry, please, please. That is the time. That is the time, sir.
So I'm just giving you now, you have in data there, but my seven RTIs have gone even after that. I asked for particular dates plus finalized data, full consolidated data of 30 phases, how many party branch wise and everything. Those replies have come. Then another RTI was I asked for. I mean that was out of way because I said the money is our concern. Anything which government spend is a taxpayers' money. That is how much is payment done to Shri Hari Salve, the senior advocate. All along, we saw Solicitor General defending all the government saying why state bank separate, who's expensive one, and was fumbling in the first day. I know he came twice. Plus, there is a called Department of Economic Affairs where I am parallelly filing RTA because I know that's why I can make it if the 24th sale finished. They get the letter on 25th, complete data. There is a format difference from what I get from State Bank and one bottom and there's something called service charges or they call it commission. So the commission tells you these charges are based on the physical payment instrument or digital. Now, physical payment instruments are check and draft. Rest of RBI was saying hold this thing should be digital. Future thing it should be done like that so the money trail can be kept. So that is how this RTI came up. They told me, replied me on within 10 days. 19 February I filed, by 27th I had a reply. They categorically said, to my shock, 8,300 more electoral bond of 1 crore each were printed even after the reserve judgment, which was substantiated by another reply from State Bank of India. And that was in 24. Was the government so overconfident that status quo will be maintained? You're buying another 8,000. So commission and level and the printing charges are level with 18% GST. So donors don't pay. Donors get tax free on that tax exemption. Political party exemption. Government said we will pay. In other words, taxpayers are paying. I use this term. Billionaires buy tax free. Political parties get tax free in millions. It is the taxpayers who pay this burden, which is now by now it should have been around 15 crore. Since last time the bill had not come from them, I filed another RTI now to get this information. And another RTI I am filing now tomorrow morning. Now the 12th April has become, I have a data of all the branches separately, but since the April sale was from 1st January to 20th, 20 days sale in 2009 because that was a Lok Sabha year. Because the system says, for sale I told you, but when there's a Lok Sabha, there's 30 days additional there where government can discretionary power to divide them 30 days to 10 days, 15 days, whatever slot they want. That's why I was worried. Every day, if you see my media report, there was high alerts issued by me saying that government is going to start, if the judgment doesn't come, by third week of Feb, you will see another sale will start under that clause. But luckily, fortunately, it came and everything was declared unconstitutional. So these are things I'm going up and down to explain to the audience. This is exactly what it is. Now we want to know. I have the data. I'm looking at the most amount of sale was done between 1st April 2019 to 20th April. There was 20-day sale out of that Lok Sabha. April was non. Now I can't divide that. I have the entire data. If I include the whole April data, it comes down to about 5,000 crore plus crore. That information not yet to come out because they have given it after 12th April. Unless the political parties are given in their seal cover. If I remove that April, it comes to only 2,000. So I can say we do not have the information yet, even after that, for that way. So I am filing RTI seeking information, complete consolidate till the date that information was not provided under the SBI order, and beyond that, leave it. So that is it. Tomorrow morning I am filing. It is necessary to know. Otherwise, I
Got it.
calculate today, and large number is another issue that people must understand. Sale, they have a 1,000, 10,000 denomination bonds, 1 lakh, 10 lakh, and 1 crore. And 1,000 was printed, 1,000, 10,000 through lakh 65,000. And printing cost we are paying anyway, that's a set. This came out of during the file, I came through a letter, General Secretary of the ruling party had written to Finance Mr. We understand you are coming with this scheme. They knew everything internal. But our grassroots workers will also like to donate, so we want a small donation denomination. But today's situation is a 95%, that is 94.67% my calculation, have been purchased only 1 crore value. Who is buying this? Just imagine, yesterday another press release I showed, you can see that on my Twitter handle. I counted the number of bonds, is about 15,700 something, I can say exact number. And of which 15 bonds could not be in the period was encashed. So today I said those who are doing a research on the website, first they should go for that 1500, 15,700, whatever number I given, because you can do your filter out in your Excel file that number. That is the largest money which has gone. And the same way you should do dollars. That I am not a technical man to IT man to do that, but this was my message there, and I put it and media also released. But that includes the period before 12th April.
Sir, I want
So
to ask you a question. Sir, I want to
I
ask you a question. There are three
please,
figures. There are three figures that are floating. One is a figure of 28,000 that was floating. The second figure is of 21,000, which later on SBI tracked back and said that this was a mistake. And then they gave this figure, which you were mentioning, which is 15,875. Which is the right figure, sir?
no, I don't know about this controversy what you are mentioning. What I
Hmm.
am saying is they gave the entire data. First is without the registration number, and then I don't know about the statement you mentioned it.
Hmm.
They're not given any figure. This is the period as per the Supreme Court order is supposed to be 12th April and thereafter, not before that. Uska reason, and today somebody was arguing why 12th April, why not the earlier data? Because the transparency campaigners are seeking the data of earlier because it doesn't give complete data, na. And as I said, that data is about 4,000 crore. The total sale has been 16,550, 550 plus some crore. The total sale of in the 30th phase, of which now you have only the data minus the data of 12th April se pehle ka, which I will
Ah,
from my document analyze it was coming to 5,000 if I calculate the entire April, 5,000 plus, I'm giving you rough figures. And if I remove, suddenly it comes to 2,000 something because that sale was very high, April 2019, that's election year. So that is what we need to know because I can't break it. If it was full April after 12th, it was 20 days sale, I would have said how much is the money. General talk is that when you see that lawyers and the activists they're talking of, we still need the data of 4,000 and above money, which was prior to 12th April. But exact figure to me is coming 5,000 crore, but including the entire process. But the 12th April was a between break. So there's no other data coming because at the moment that data is not gone. Even what our data has come out, I mean, I'm reading the media that about 8,000 has gone to one party, 8,000 crore or something. So that is coming up. But corrupt practice, I'm not saying corrupt practice, are tumbling out every day. Take a case of Arvind Kejriwal, what I know. Yesterday, Prashant Bhushan was talking on another webinar. He said, we are not saying whether he did corruption or not corruption illegal. But they have a approver who mentioned based on that case. That is quoting, unquoting from the other sources. Now that particular approver himself was under the shadow, under this thing. So he possibly gave so many crores of electoral bond to the party. And after he became approver, he gave some more money to. They're linking up now wherever the ED raid or CBI raid, before or afterwards, the money flown from that parties. Kind of various kind of words are being used by the media or the people who are taking it out. And even before this was means data was put up, news laundry and news minutes together was working on the reports from the corporate ministry that whatever they filed, they target 1 crore and above. So they had already come out the figures of 300 some odd crores much before this, which had direct relationship with the ED rate, CBI rate, IT rate, either before or after, and they contributed to that. So I'm just saying these are the corrupt practices which are now coming out after data has come. And this is a little bit of serious. People should be concerned. The money may be very small, 16,500 some crore, but it is considered one of the biggest scam in the history of anywhere because it was legalized. When you look at the scam get legalized, it becomes much bigger thing.
correct. Correct,
But
sir. I have 1 more minute in my timer. In fact, I've crossed my time, but I want
fair
to
enough.
ask you that one question, sir. No, I want to ask you that one question, sir. And
Please.
you were so articulate, sir, that I didn't have any reason to ask you a question. So I was just so engrossed listening to you, sir. You spoke about the election commission being opaque, and you said that election commission was opaque after a certain point in time. You found that election commission was not forthcoming. Sir, what exactly did you mean by
You
that?
see,
What?
earlier I told you I used to walk in with my RTA, they'll give me affidavit, they'll give me complete list. There was no hesitation on their part to do. Now, exactly same after the judgment was reserved on seconds, election commission was given similar note that you should put up seal cover. Last time I filed, after 19th November was the last date given for submitting it to Supreme Court, the entire seal cover from election commission first get it there. So on 21st of November, I filed an similar to RTI, and this RTI was not seeking information, more providing them information. Background, I said, you gave me, and this is a list of 105 attached with my application. Then I also went around, the SBI has told me, last answer, that only 25 parties are registered as of now. In other words, you won't have more than that seal cover. Then also told them ki donor's name. I said, donor's name, this was my feeling, that's why media was writing after that. Ki still it won't serve the purpose of parties telling you. The order should, I believe the order SBI at the time of result. Because they had the information, both sides, donors and exact information, which they later gave now. This should have been done at that level. So I said, donor's name, that's what I said. It's like a bearer bond, like a currency note shifting from A to B. Donor is within the right to say, I don't know the name. And it's happened now. Some of the envelopes, some of the parties say, we don't know who is the donor. Somebody has just dropped in that. But we know it, they will find out because the quid pro. Another quick thing I want to add is
Please.
in 2016, that FCRA Act was amended, which allowed the subsidiary companies of abroad to also donate. Earlier, there was a condition for companies to donate up to 7.5% of 3 years' profit. That was taken away in the amendment 2000. Any money you can give, even if you don't have a profit. Now, on the other hand, same thing happens, subsidiary of the foreign companies, they can also donate. When there's no condition, we are saying even if you have zero profit, their money will be, I mean, that is how calculated. I'm not a finance man. That main company abroad will give the money and they will continue to donate. And that means earlier it was that the crore of 95% crore, those who donate, they will influence the policy of the nation. Bound to be. We see that before budget that they meet the company. And now we can see even the foreign countries, if money is coming from abroad, they will also influence the other this thing. And I told you why, because 4 RTIs filed with election commission. I'm going back to your first question. They not replied. Not only this, I had filed one MCC case, violation of Model Code of Conduct, when 5 state elections were going. Very categorically there, or I think 18th or 19th October, they issued the MCC. Categorically said it will applicable to state, but one for center action, no financial thing should be announced at that time. So I said when they opened up the scheme of November from 6 to 20, it was 15 days sale. So I say it's a violation because electoral bond scheme is a pan-India. That means those states will also get. Either you issue such a that no sale will take place in those states, but they had not even answered that. So like my 3 RTA, another RTA is when you are in USA, the whole website is geofenced. That is what annoys me because whenever they do that Bharat meeting NCRE, whatever they call it, they say participation by foreign countries with that. But you don't even give them the important website, access to website because they're geofenced. You know?
Correct.
So that also my RTI moved. I got the various IDs, etc. from my friends in India. But that's not the way. What is the Parvasi Bharatiya Divas? I
Correct.
quoted in my appeal that what the PMO had written there, that we want you to strengthen India's democracy, participate, and you don't even give them the access to the most important website. And
Correct.
the reply which came was one of the funniest things, sometime when you file an appeal, I said my name is not correctly mentioned as per the president's thing. If nothing else, but I push it should be there. They use Shiri. Second is there is an order from the Department of DOPT saying that how to reply. That means if you are sending to a third party or something reply, you have to give your personal name, phone number, email ID. Similarly, whom you are forwarding, they did not give. So I had put that screenshot in my appeal, that GOPTOM, and I mean, they were. It's very funny that instead of giving me this open, what they call that, reasoned order, first appellate authority asked the CPIO, have you given the reason? No, no. But these two, he's never asked in his RTI. Can you imagine? Do I ask in RTI, my name should be correct, and you follow DOPT order? Here, though, I'm teaching you. And he said, absolutely, this is correct, CPIO. So that is laughable. My CIC says it's a time to train them on RTI. Either they pretended or they deliberately this thing. So that change which has taken place, and we have heard the Chief Election Commissioner recently in Jammu talking, we believe in disclosure, disclosure, and disclosure. You must have seen that statement. And is
Yes.
this the disclosure? No reply on violation MCC, nothing they are replying it. So it's a dangerous position when the election comes, and now we need to concentrate on election commission. When so many people are demanding for the EVM thing, let's look at it. There's so much a demand at that time. What is his problem of satisfying this thing? No, it's correct. There was a last time in election that the VVPAT, the slips did not match with the actual voting. They took it out, the 5%. This is on record. They were supposed to maintain this record on the website. They removed it, delete. This is a past record speak. So what is wrong with satisfying those lawyers and all who are doing in Jantar Mantar, the entire thing of EVM? So doubt goes away. Nowhere in the world now EVM has been removed. Physical starts. But question is, when people demand, you don't want to listen to them. They're put in jail. They've been, what was happening. Jantar Mantar, I was reading media, I was abroad. So this is also this thing of election commission. Na?
Correct.
So it's become so weak. Even in 2019, I had filed a case of violation of Model Code of Conduct, where we had two guidelines issued before that. We found some three chiefs photographs like next to session dog photographs election time, and then there were some speeches, Pulwama ke naam pe aap vote dijiye. The second instruction was issued on 19th of March, I think, which I put it there and asked for nothing to be discussed about the armed forces during election time, but which went on. Even now, I have written a letter 2 months ago or 1.5 months ago, which Telegraph and Wire printed it, asking them to come into the MCC, include in MCC, like past order. There'll be no, it's a permanent feature should be there. We'll not be discussing about the armed forces because they are apolitical. You cannot be politicizing them and using their. So when you say, "Unke ghar mein ghus ke mara," that last one which I had filed a case and later on took the files, I know what happened to that files. It's the defense forces who did the action.
Correct. Correct.
It's not the
Sir,
but we talk
sir,
about it in election time, You are
sir, thank you so much.
politicizing the armed forces.
Your speaking to you was such a pleasure, sir. Sir,
No,
I share the sentiments of each and every viewer of mine. Sir, there are hundreds of viewers who has written here in the comment box that I should thank you. Thank you for what you are doing for the country, your service. Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you for your service, and
on
really,
my behalf, give my salam to each one of them. So
I will,
thank you.
sir.
I am grateful that they listened to me and you gave me the opportunity to spare my in the little time, a long 5-6 years, trying to take information and how it was bringing it out. It's my see. I like to say that let maximum people know about it. Same thing happens when my RTI comes. I share with the petitioner and then it goes to media and refuse to give exclusive. Because I feel if I give to everybody, at least those print or no print, they will have the information. That's
Yes,
how
sir.
it's a transparency across.
Sir, thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much for
I
giving me the
really
opportunity.
thank you for your time
I must
and
salute
for
you for all that opportunity you gave me.
no,
Thank
no,
you
no,
so much.
sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. God bless.